Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. Kindly subscribe to our channel. We have been waiting for a court ruling from the Court of Appeal concerning the implementation of the new SHIF, the new health insurance that was passed in Parliament, and doctors went to court so that it can be suspended because they said there are gray areas that must be looked at. That elicited a lot of rage and anger from the president and his allies, and he threatened the courts and those who went to court. In fact, he said he will not obey the court orders, and he told the courts, if you like, you can ask the hustlers, because they gave me a mandate to ensure that I give them affordable health. Now, Susan Nakumincha, who is the health cabinet secretary, rushed to court and requested the court of appeal, that is, to quash that ruling of the High Court that suspended the implementation of the SHIF Act. Now, news just in is, Court of Appeal lifts order barring implementation of social health insurance fund. In fact, there are very scanty details because not much was said. It is just reported that the government has scored a big win after the Court of Appeal lifted an order barring the implementation of the social health insurance fund. Now, in their ruling, this is what the judges of the Court of Appeal said: we hereby suspend the orders of the High Court restraining the implementation and or enforcement of the Social Health Insurance Act 2023, the Primary Health Care Act 2023, and the Digital Health Act 2023. That is it. In fact, even before we move on, ladies and gentlemen, I want us to look at this video where President William Samoei Ruto issued a stern warning while in Nyandarua. And I want you to look at the countenance, the facial look, and you'll realize that Ruto was very serious.
Mambo ya watu wachache, people with vested interest, people who are beneficiaries of the corruption in the former NHIF, ganging up with corrupt judicial officials to stall the program that is going to make it possible for ordinary citizens to access health care, so that a few corrupt characters, hospitals, fake doctors, can continue to steal from NHIF. I want to tell them it will not happen in Kenya again, and we will stop it. We support the independence of the judiciary, but corrupt judicial officials working with those who vested interests that are benefiting from money stolen from NHIF, who want to perpetuate judicial tyranny and judicial impunity, we will deal with them. We will fight with them. We will not allow them. They will not go far. Mimi nataka niwatangazie mapema. Mimi ni mtu ambaye naamini mahakama. I respect the judiciary. I respect the independence of the judiciary. But I also believe that the judiciary cannot be abused by a few corrupt judicial officials.
You now know that the president was serious, and he had even said that he was not going to obey any court orders. Remember, prior to that, he had said that he was given a sword, and that sword is not meant to cut vegetables ama mboga venye unafikiria. Alisema hiyo kisu ama sword alipewa ni kukatakata wale ambao wanajaribu kumsumbua. And you know that we are going back to the Nyayo era, where the three arms of the government will never be equal as was envisaged in our constitution. The executive now wants to ensure that the legislative arm of the government is in his pocket. the judiciary is in his pocket. Remember, after those threats, the president of the judiciary, Madam Martha Koome, in whom we thought would stand firm and speak for the judges, decided to coil her tail and invited the president for a dialogue, and that ended everything. Because when your leader has decided to succumb to threats and intimidation, you have no choice. I don't know the fates of the doctors and the body that represented the KMPDU that went to court, because they are in charge of offering services, and they are the ones who say that there are certain areas that need to be looked at. Now they have been overlooked. I want us to look at a few things here, because this was coming. I mean, if you've been studying the politics of this country, it has been coming. When Parliament passed the Finance Bill 2023, Okiya Mutata went to court, because in that Finance Bill 2023 is where the housing finance was pegged, the increment of VAT from 8% to 16% on fuel products. So when Okiya Mutata went to court, the judges of the High Court suspended the implementation of the Finance Bill 2023. And then it went to the Court of Appeal. And the Court of Appeal quashed the verdict of the High Court. And we knew that that was a red alert. When the government tried to forcefully, tell people that GMO is good, and an association of peasant farmers together with the Law Society of Kenya went to the courts, it dragged, and there was a kind of suspension from the High Court. But when it went to the courts of appeal, the same thing happened, and it was ruled that GMO has got no problem in our health, because those who went to court had said that we need to incorporate all the stakeholders so that we have a public participation. So it tells you, because the executive arm of the government will always have their way. And when the High Court judges ruled on the housing levy, and they said that they found it very discriminatory and unconstitutional, the Attorney General rushed to court. In fact, immediately that they made that ruling, a few minutes or hours after the ruling, they said that they had allowed the government to continue collecting the housing levy for about 1 month, because that was in December, and they wanted it to be collected until 10th of this month. They went to court again, the government, and that collection was extended to the end of this month. That tells you that with all the threats and intimidations, the judges have succumbed to the fears, and we are doomed as a people. Because I've always told you that there are legal avenues where disgruntled Kenyans can look for legal redress whenever they are tired of this government. I was reading an article where we were being informed that the reason why there was an attempted coup in 1982 was because Kenyans were so much confined, there were no avenues where citizens could go and air their dissatisfaction against the government. And that is why the drafters of the constitution had given leeway. People can go for picketing and demonstrations without weapons. But even when Kenyans went to the streets for the same reasons that they are in court, the government claimed that the opposition was hell-bent in trying to sabotage the economy, and they killed people in the streets. Now, the opposition stopped the demonstrations, and they have decided that we let people who are disgruntled go to court. When the people go to court again, the judges are threatened. Those who go to court like Okiya Mutata are threatened. And now the judges, the people in whom we entrust our future, because when there is something, especially from the government, that you feel is not going right, the only thing you can do is to go to the courts. They have also blocked the doors so that it doesn't need any rocket science anyway to understand that when you go to court now against a government, against the executive arm of the government, it is nothing. It is nothing. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this is depicting a very faint future for us. People who fought for this constitution, for the expansion of the democratic space, I know they are crying because we can see a tendency where dictatorship is making it now, taking a center stage. There is no democracy. Democracy is just on paper. Parliament has been muzzled because even Parliament was threatened to pass this bill. Remember William Ruto saying he wanted to see any member of Parliament who would vote against it, denying Kenyans jobs, because they have now pegged this thing that is about giving hustlers jobs in the housing finance and giving affordable medical care. I don't know, but we are going back to the Nyayo era. We are going back to the dark days where the president is the alpha and omega. He is the author and the finisher of your constitution. Whatever he says is law. And if people are not going to stand firm and reject these attempts of dictatorship, then we are gone. I don't know what to think, but that is my take.